Good morning, Devin Graves coming to you once again from Studio D. Still a disaster on this end of the room, but I'm getting this end together actually. You can see I've already put up the acoustic panel back there, but now I've slid the desk back. I've wired all of the monitors and the controllers and everything that needs to be plugged in back there with no hanging cables whatsoever. And now it's up and running. I could actually play audio through there. And I've hooked up the Pro Tools computer. That's the main production computer there. That is all plugged in and hooked up to the audio interfaces. Which brings me to where I am now in the process. You might see on the desk, you can see that the desk is littered with soldering equipment, and I will show you what I'm doing now. So as you can see, the back of the rack is completely unhooked as I showed you before. And right now, I'm running the power cables to the respective power conditioners. I have a power conditioner up on top, and then I have a power conditioner all the way down on the bottom. But each of those power supplies outputs power to the respective upper or lower half of the rack. One thing that a lot of people don't discuss in audio is the wiring of electrical cables and the wiring of audio cables. And what you want to do is keep your AC cables separate from your line or mic cables. That way you don't pick up any possible unwanted noise. And I've created custom lengths for each of these cables to each of their respective devices in the rack. It's a painstaking process, and I'll give you an example of how I do it. I've already finished the top rack, and now I'm going to the bottom rack here, and I've gotten about halfway through. I take an AC cable, that's the female end that goes into the device, and normally the end that goes into the electrical outlet looks like this, but that is not what goes into the power conditioners. It's the opposite end, a male end of one of these. I'll show you how I wire that together. But first I make the cable the exact length I want so that nothing is hanging down, nothing is coiled up, straight from the device to the power supply. So the next one down is my Neve 1073, and the AC actually doesn't go from the unit, but from a little power converter that it comes with. I'm going to go from the power converter, which I have down here at the bottom. You won't be able to see the power supply because it's too dark down there. Trust me, there's one there. So what I do is I just measure the length by using the cable, going from the output of the power conditioner to the side of the rack, and then down to each respective device, cut to the exact length. I give it a couple centimeters slack just for good measure, and I'm going to cut this thing right here. I'll show you how I prepare it. Okay, so I get some wire cutters here, and I cut the cable. And then I'm going to solder this end. Well, I'm not going to solder it. There's just little screw terminals here that tighten down, but I do use a soldering iron. So the first thing I do is I use my wire stripper. Then I use God's wire stripper for these because I don't have a good wire stripper for these size cables. So okay, that's done. Now twist these up. I should have put on the sleeve before I stripped the main housing off this. My soldering iron is already hot. I'm putting a little flux on the wires. That makes the solder flow One. And the reason I'm doing this is so no fibrous wires, well, first of all, it's easier to install into the little plug, but the wires don't fray and they won't make contact with all of the AC and blow up my circuit breaker. I need my reading glasses for these. Okay. I should have put this sleeve on before I stripped the wire, and this is why, otherwise it's a little inconvenient to get these through. But anyways, short work of it. This green wire always goes into the center pin, that's the ground. Look at that. Then just tighten these down. And when I solder the tips like that, then I don't get any stray wires that may cross onto adjacent terminals, causing electrical catastrophe. So just tighten those down. Put the sleeve on. Put on the strain relief. And then I have to push it so the wires are going to clear that little hole for the screw that goes in to hold this whole thing together. Screw that in there nice and tight. Hold that cable steady. Don't let it slip. Next one. And now I have enough clearance over that hole to put the, there we go. And we have a cable the exact length we need to go from the Neve power supply to the power conditioner with no extra slack. I'm going to plug this in and I'm going to plug the rest in, make more of these, and I'll see you on the next one.